What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing a beer from the Paulaner Brewery, and they are out of Munich, Germany, and this is their Salvator. So this is a German Doppelbock that comes in at 7.9% alcohol by volume, 28 IBUs at the time of review. I don't know exactly how old this bottle is, but it does have an enjoy best before date of January of 2023, and we're about 4.5 months away from the new year, so we should be fine. But with a style like this, it can age, so we should be fine in general. Anyway, I have been on a Doppelbock kick lately. I have recently reviewed from Augustiner, their Maximator. I've reviewed Spatten's Optimator, and I have reviewed Weihenstephaner's Corbinian, and then a couple years ago I reviewed Eyenger's Celebrator. So to me, there are four like big imported German Doppelbocks that we get here that I like to compare to one another. It's the aforementioned three minus Augustiner, because that doesn't get wide distribution here in the United States, along with this one. So you have Eyenger, Weihenstephaner, Spaten, and Paulaner. And I have now reviewed all of them except for this one, in addition to the Augustiner. So at the end, I'm going to kind of talk about like what my preference is, you know, maybe rate them 1 to 5, or 1 to 4 for the big four, and then we'll throw Augustiner in there. But yeah, it's just, I love German Doppelbock. So I wanted to finally review them all. It's been a couple years since I've had this one, but I remember it being pretty damn good. Not my favorite of the four, probably number 3 or 4, but as I've mentioned in those reviews, even the worst authentic German Doppelbocks are still delicious to me. So anyway, let's crack this one open, get it into the glass, and yeah, it's been a couple years since I've had this one, so I'm really excited to get into this. So, oops, fucking throwing the cap everywhere because I'm an idiot. So this is like the OG Doppelbock as well. I think Paulaner kind of developed the style back in, I think it says right on the label, we'll check that momentarily, but I think the mid 1600s. Yeah, since 1634. So back then, when they had this, I believe Doppelbocks weren't the almost 7.5%, 8% big imperial beers that they are now. They were like lower ABV. But yeah, they I believe are the OG German Doppelbock. Anyway, so that has more haziness than the others had. Like, it has fine particulates in it, has this really weird like burnt orange color, had about a finger of a very lightly tanned head, is now dissipated to a thin film. We'll try to generate it. Yeah, it's about half a finger. But yeah, all that sediment there, I didn't notice that in any of the others. So yeah, kind of looks kind of like a Doppelbock, although a bit different than the rest, not as dark. Let's get a nose. It's just very akin to the rest of them. Like, they're all very similar to certain degrees. Like, this has that nice toasted kind of brown bread quality. So I don't know. I'm reviewing this like right after reviewing the Augustiner Maximator, and in that I talk about raisinets. But I didn't say chocolate at all. I said caramel and toffee covered raisins. And I know raisinets are chocolate covered raisins, but for me, I feel like I just say raisinets because I don't think I've ever had like a caramel or toffee covered raisin before. Maybe I have, but that's kind of how I feel. And when I'm talking about raisinets, that's more of I kind of just picture, if you will, shout out to Dusty Rhodes, if you will, Dada, picture a raisinette, but instead of chocolate, caramel. That's kind of what I'm saying. And that's what's here. Big dark fruits, raisins and dates and plums, but like caramel covered, toffee covered. Little bit of chocolate in this one. But that toasted brown bread is the predominant note. A little bit of like I've had this in older school IPAs that have kind of faded. Let's say you get an old school like American IPA that's 6 months old. Has a slight tea, like black tea note. I didn't notice it in the other ones. Definitely noticeable here though. So we'll just say more of like an earthy kind of tea note. I will say right from the rip, this does not smell as boisterous, bombastic, intense as the others that I have reviewed on the channel. It doesn't smell bad, don't get me wrong. It still smells really good. It just doesn't smell as robust and like cohesive as those beers, but still really nice. Definitely malt forward, but not overbearing. Getting more of like an earthy hop bitterness. I shouldn't say bitterness, earthy hop character. But yeah, it smells pretty good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Yeah, it's just, I fucking love this style. And I have a bias towards the style. And you need to know that, because when I rate these, every beer I rate on my channel is to personal preference. And if you love a style, you're going to rate it probably higher than the normal person who doesn't love the style. These are just it for me. I got in and started drinking craft beer, and I loved the malt forward malty beers. And this isn't like an overbearing malt kind of bomb, but it's definitely more leaning malt forward. But it's just the malt characters are exactly what I want out of a beer. Buying this higher side of medium, lower side of full. Definitely akin to like a Spaten or something. The mouthfeel, it's crisp, it's effervescent. It's very clean on the palate too. Always, talk about these are Imperial box lagers, right? So it has a nice cleanness. But yeah, body mouthfeel really nice. The taste, right at the forefront, you get that toasted, not quite brown bread, more of like a white bread into like a brown bread. This isn't as heavy as far as the bread goes, but it's nice, like toasted quality. Right after that, caramel toffee, a little bit of molasses, touch of chocolate. And then the dark fruits hit. I think the reason why I always put this one kind of at the bottom of the big four for me is the dark fruit presence in this one doesn't seem to be as prevalent as the rest. So I don't get as much of that raisinette or caramel like covered raisins as I do in the others, and I really like that character. But there is a little bit of raisin, figgy date thing, maybe a touch of like a black cherry. And about 2/3 way through the palate, there's an earthy kind of floral kind of bitterness from the hops. This finishes semi-dry with a mild to moderate bitterness, more of like a mild, maybe like right in between a mild and moderate bitterness. So it has a little bit of bitterness there. More of the dryness balances the beer out from the sweetness perspective. 7.9%, like there's no warming in my chest. There's no astringency on the palate. The reason why I can tell this is bigger beer is because of the body and the intensity of the flavors indicate this is definitely something in the 7 to 8 range, but you don't get any booze, and that's really nice. Can I say I like this more than Spaten? I don't think so. But I don't like it less. I think they're kind of right there. It depends on my mood, what day I'm drinking at, maybe the beer, how fresh it is, how aged. I just know that this is a really good fucking Doppelbock. Not my favorite, despite being the OG. And it's just a fucking good beer. They know what they're doing with the Doppelbocks. Germany, in general, a lot of these classic breweries, they just know what they're doing in brewing in general. So I'm going to give Salvator from Paulaner straight 4.25 out of 5. I think that's what I gave Spaten Optimator. And that's kind of where I feel this one belongs. Price and availability, I think a bottle of that was $3 here. Is this 11.2 ounces? Yeah, 11.2 ounces. $3 a bottle all fucking day long for that quality. And availability, all over the world, I'd imagine. Wherever you see Paulaner, this is one of the beers you probably should see. And again, I haven't had it in a couple of years, but I've had it numerous times before, and it's just fucking quality through and through. It's a really good beer. So let's talk about the where I land in terms of rating the big four, but we'll throw Augustiner in the mix, okay? So the big four, again, we've already clarified what they are. So at the top of the list for me, it is, to me, the world-class Doppelbock, and it's Ayinger Celebrator. That's a 5 out of 5, world-class, just amazing beer. That is the number one, okay? After that, it'll be a battle between Weihenstephaner's Corbinian and Augustiner's Maximator. I think I gave Weihenstephaner's Corbinian a 4.4 and Augustiner's Maximator a 4.6, but I think those could fluctuate to the point where like I like them equally. If I had to choose, I'd probably go Augustiner second, well, Weihenstephaner third. And then 4 and 5 is going to be Spaten Optimator and this beer. And again, I gave them both 4.25s, but I think that's they're just tied. So they're both tied for fourth or tied for fifth, whatever you want to, whatever standpoint you want to go there. It depends on the day, depends on my mood. They're both good in their own way, but again, the lowest score I'm giving is a 4.25. So you know I love the fucking style. I just love it. It's awesome. I've had a couple really good, authentic German Doppelbocks, but I should say authentic, really good, well-made German-style Doppelbocks from American breweries, but not to this quality. Like these are just fucking delicious. If you've never had a Doppelbock from any of these breweries, give it a try. I mean, you're talking $3-4 a bottle for something that's 7 to 8%. If you like malt forward beers and you just, or maybe afraid to go into the import section at your local beer store, or you see these and you're just like, I don't know much about them, try them out. That's how I got into these beers and got into German beers and Belgian beers and English beers. I would go into my local bottle shop of choice, Premier Gourmet. I would ask the beer manager there, Ethan, to recommend stuff, and he did. And over the years, it came to the point where like I tried a lot of it and I knew what I enjoyed. And when it comes to German style beers, like this is the style for me. Who knows? It could be the style for you if you've never tried them. You owe it to yourself. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a longer review, but a beer like this I think deserves it, and the style itself deserves it. So this is where I always say, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. I want to hear what you think about this one. As far as the big four, we'll just exclude Augustiner because, again, that's not a beer that you can easily obtain in the U.S. What if you've had all four of them, where do you rank them? What's your favorite? Do you think this is the best of the bunch by a significant margin? Do you think this is terrible? Do you love Weihenstephanus Corbinian? Where do you stand? Because I gave you my list. I'd like to know yours. So appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Prost.